Less than 48 hours after the first race to Needles Trophy, we have the Peter Stuyvesant Poole Bay Classic, second round of the 1982 World Offshore Championship Series. For the Class 1, Class 2, national and international race, the distance will be just under 98 nautical miles. For the Class 3 World Championship contenders, they've got a long course to do, a total of 112 miles. So in all, another exciting race in store for us, the second round of the World Championship Series, and leading the Class 1 boats at the moment, of course, Roberto Della Valle, the man who won the opening round. He has 400 points. He's leading the Marlborough boat of Alberto Samania, who has 300 points. Third in Class 1 is Roman Sabre, John Craxford, the first British entry with 225 points. Fourth is Hublot, Walter Regazzi, and Mickey Di Giorgio with 169 points. And fifth is Ros Knight and Pippin Neal May with 127 points, because the Peter Stuyvesant boat of Ted Tolman and Harold Smithy Smith have been disqualified at the moment from the first race, although they're still trying to get that important fifth place back. Number 160, Katana, who lies second in the World Championship, 018, and today to Howard Retham, who was in the lead of the Class 3D race in the middle part of that first round of the Needles Trophy. But the man who brought the 400 points home on that first race, Property Growth Assurance, Les Walling and Mike Jones, 400 important points because they want to bring the prestigious World Championship Class 3D back to Great Britain. A lot of Italian boats, of course, entered. In fact, they're lying second and third, because in second place was Katana in the first race. That's Di Ramondo with 300 points. And in third place, Tam Tam, Soldo with 225 points. The Bootsy Cats, that's the Italian Bootsy Cats. There's Tam Tam, number 465, who was third in the first round of the championship. Going very well, considering the conditions were not suiting them. It's a real Italy versus Great Britain with the Phantoms, and here is one of them, number 44. Turbo Fabergé, driven by husband and wife team, to 8th place in the first round of the championship. 53 points so far for them. Peter and Jan Armstrong. A lot of attention being paid to the weather forecasting, because for Tuesday the 24th of August, very similar conditions to that first race just 2 days prior. Indeed, I think the Class 3 boats will have their storm course run once again, but even although it is called a storm course, they've still got to go out very near to the Needles part of the Isle of Wight. Very rough conditions out there at the moment. Engines being rebuilt, and generally everybody making sure that their boats are as reliable as possible for the second round of the World Championship. On the right, Mike Jones. On the left, Les Walling, the two men who won the Class 3D in Property Growth Assurance last time out. There is a storm weather course. That's been confirmed at the drivers' meeting, but we now go and talk to Ted Tolman. Ted, you told us after the first round of the 1982 Peter Stuyvesant Championship that you were disappointed that you had engine problems. You went all around the course on the one engine, and now you've found that you've been disqualified. First of all, explain to us why they've said that you've been disqualified.
Well, they're saying that we went the wrong side of the start-finish line at the end. What in fact they'd done, they'd moved the mark of the course. We've gone to appeal, and we won't know until Friday what's happened.
Well, you finished fifth overall, giving yourself 127 points at the moment. There was even rumour that you might even withdraw from the championship if this protest was upheld.
I felt pretty bitter about it yesterday, because I thought it was totally unnecessary, and we did seriously consider withdrawing from the World Championships as a protest to the Royal Motor Yacht Club and their arrogant attitude towards us and other competitors. However, as we have a chance of getting our points back again, we've decided to go tomorrow as though we have our points. So we'll be going out tomorrow to try to win.
You, in fact, make a mistake. Either you or Ted really make a mistake, and the Royal Motor Yacht Club, in theory, could be right, that you should have passed between those two boys.
No, ironically, we were absolutely correct. And the fortunate thing for us yesterday, and which has turned out unfortunate, is that we stopped to make a decision because it didn't look correct. The only thing we had to go on was the marks of the course, the race marks, which were laid marks, and all three race marks were there. It just so happens that there was a boat in the wrong place. So we chose to go through the marks, being they were the marks of the course, and as it turned out, they had actually picked up one of the marks and moved it to the south side of the course, and were waiting to tow the other two in as soon as we finished.
In any way, do you think that you can pull back what is a very large deficit in the second race and the third race?
Well, let's put it this way. Luck has certainly got to be with us, and we've run out of luck. In fact, in all 3 World Championships now, we've had nothing but bad luck. So it's about time it turned for us, and let's just hope it turns tomorrow. We have a chance. It is remote, but we do have a chance.
So 400 points after the first round of the Peter Stuyvesant World Championship Series for the men who lead the Class 3D World Championship in Property Growth Assurance. On my left, Mick Jones, who, of course, has to navigate, is on the throttles, and the driver on my right, Les Wanning. We'll start off with Mick, because Mick speaks better English than Les. Mick, first of all to you. Tremendous race. You came up, in fact, from 5th place. We've got film of you actually having an enormous battle with Avia watches. What was it like in those incredibly rough seas?
It was very rough, similar to Brighton in the last race. As you went further out to sea, the conditions got worse and worse and worse. And tomorrow, it's a similar sort of situation. So we're very confident that we hold the boat together, and then we'll come somewhere.
It was very difficult. It looked as if you were having some... There was some good close racing in that first round of the series. Tomorrow should be exactly the same. What is necessary to drive a boat like that and to actually give you the will to get in front of what was the 2 Bootsy Cats that were very quick, and you passed them and won the class from the 2 Italian boats?
They were an unknown quantity, and so for the first half of the race, you're assessing from a situation maybe 400 or 800 yards away exactly what the competition can do. We'd never raced against Italians before, and so Les and myself sat there and we waited, and we found out the stretches of the course where we could accelerate away, and on the long leg from Christchurch to Poole Fairway we knew we could get away, and we pulled half a mile out every time on that lap, and times that by three laps, and that's your finish.
Difficult conditions for you. What was it like to drive the boat itself?
It was very difficult going to the Christchurch ledge. We was on our side and to the other side, and when we rounded Christchurch ledge, there was monster waves, and we just couldn't cope with them so good.
No. Fear?
Fear? Yeah. Well, you haven't time to really think about that. No.
Big final words for you for tomorrow's race, second round, and I think probably the most crucial race of the 3 races, because it's there that if you win again, you're going to be almost certainly the world champions.
All about finishing tomorrow. A lot of points at stake. Hang back for the first half of the race, and same as on Sunday, then we'll give it a go.
Once again, race day, 6 a.m, and it's still nice and sunny. We've got a very nice dawn. The wind doesn't seem to have come up too much, but once again, as with the first race, it's forecast that the weather will get a lot worse during the race. Having made the choice in that first race, of course, to run with the Bertram monohull, the Peter Stuyvesant team, Ted Tolman and Harold Smitty-Smith, must run 1-2-1. I think they would actually choose that in any case, with the forecast being that it is. And this is the size of one of these boats, 38 foot, the Bertram. Really quite a magnificent sight as it's lowered in this early morning time into the water. The Class 1 boats are craned in, whereas the Class 3D boats are pushed into the water on their trailers. Each of these boats costing in the region of, well, nearly £100,000 they're probably worth. This boat itself can probably attain speeds around about the 95 odd miles an hour. The catamaran that the Peter Stuyvesant team also run has been known to attain speeds in excess of 110 miles an hour. As the boat is lowered into the water, we get a very good view of the 2 props at the back of the boat, each of those props and drives being powered by a single Mercury engine. You've got 2 Mercury engines, each developing 650 brake horsepower coming through each of those props. On the left and right-hand side of the drives and the props, you have the trim tabs, and this is the way the boats are literally trimmed through the water, and that's the job, of course, of Harold Smitty-Smith, who is on the throttles and is responsible for the trimming of the boat, while Ted Tolman, of course, drives and has to navigate. The boat then being lowered into the water. It's important for them, of course, to win this race outright in order to gain 400 points, because, of course, they still can win the World Championship. They've got 2 more races counting towards this important World Series. Roman Sabo, which was at one time entered as a Class 2 boat, now running in Class 1, and many people actually tip this boat to be the possible world champion. Because if Stuyvesant and Rothmans break down again, or Smania may break, this is a very reliable boat, powered by 2 Sabre diesel engines. They finished 3rd in the World Championship class in the first round, of course, at Needles. So British hopes also resting on John Craxford and Chris Kay. The boat's now lining up for the start of round 2 of the World Championship Series here at Poole. the boats coming under starters orders. The way they start offshore powerboat racing, you have a start boat and all the boats that are racing must remain behind the transom of the boat. There is the start boat. The transom of the boat is the rear of the boat, the Union Jack being held high. On the far side we can see Hublot, the Italian Walter Rigazzi, Mickey Di Giorgio driven boat there. Nearest the start boat, Renato della Valle, the man who won the first round of the championship. Warlord next to him, the Class 2 boat, Smania. Then Peter Stuyvesant, Ted Tolman. Then that looks like Alfo, then Hublot. There's another Class 2 catamaran on the far side. That's Aquaglide, a British-entered boat. There is Ross Wright and Pippa Neal May behind. Gold Rush also, and the flag goes down and we have a race, and straight into the lead goes Renato della Valle there from Smania. Third place Warlord at the moment. Fourth place looks to be Peter Stuyvesant, coming up very fast on the outside on conditions that don't seem to be quite as rough as anticipated is number 71 Hublot. So Hublot, Walter Rigazzi also looks as if he's made a very good start as he feel they're panning out. Renato della Valle just taking the lead, but Rigazzi on the far side there looks to almost be in line. He's just taken Stuyvesant and is in line with second place man Smania, but Peter Stuyvesant, Ted Tolman coming up towards Alberto Smania, as Roman Sabre seems to be going a very strange way, but we look at first, second and third. Fourth is Rigazzi and Mickey Di Giorgio. There are the first three, Della Valle leading. Second at the moment is Smania. Third, catching Smania the whole time, is the Peter Stuyvesant boat, the Bertram of Ted Tolman and Smitty. Fourth looks to be Gold Rush, I think. Fifth is Hublot. Hublot, in fact, going very well indeed and very quickly in these early stages because it's nowhere near as rough in this part of the course. And then now taking over second place is Peter Stuyvesant, Ted Tolman there, knowing that he must do well. And these are the sort of conditions that ideally suit the Bertram. The Bertram monohull is best in not too rough conditions, forced 3 to 4, whereas the CUV Picciotti boats of the Italians Renato della Valle and Alberto Smania are considered to be better boats in far rougher conditions. So things look good at the moment for Ted Tolman, and if he can win, and if of course Della Valle, for example, would break in this race, then Ted Tolman would be right back in the World Championship hunt. He's taken second place and looks to us if he's closing on the leader, Della Valle. There in third place is Smania. Della Valle has gone through. Second place now is the Stuyvesant boat of Ted Tolman and Smitty. Third place is Alberto Smania. The Class 1 boats really proving quite a spectacle here, very close together indeed. Gold Rush, that's with the Jaguar turbocharged engines, the back of that going very well in fourth place. The Don Shed design boat, and flying along very quickly indeed, as you can see, is Walter Rigazzi and Mickey Di Giorgio, and they really are going very quickly. We're coming past the mark here, out of our sight, in fifth place at the moment, not far behind the top four. Sixth place overall and leading Class 2 once again is Warlord, 031. Alistair Kendon hoping to repeat his triumph of the earlier race. Alfo there in second place, 463. Emilio Riganti there going through. Through goes Roman Sabre. Sabre 6 in Class 1 at the moment. Third in Class 2 is Aquaglide, Robert Cook there going through, and you can see the spray being put up by this catamaran. We will now go back to the Class 1 boats, starting off with Walter Rigazzi and Mickey Di Giorgio. There's been a big accident there, a very big accident, because that is 71 Hublot. Hublot has crashed in a very big way. It's totally out of the race. That boat is completely wrecked. The catamaran, one of the sponsons, and I think this boat is in danger of sinking. As we've already explained to you, the boat made out of Kevlar carbon fibre, and we have to see if there's any injuries. You can see the parts of the boat strewn all over the place here, all over the sea, and it's listing very badly indeed. As we go to take a look and look at the sponson here, a big hole torn in the structure of the boat, and Walter Rigazzi, who was throttling the boat and therefore was on the left-hand side of the boat, the far side of the boat, has actually taken the full impact, and it looks as if he is injured. We wait for the rescue boats to come in. You can see part of the carbon fibre Kevlar It's literally strewn all over the place. Yes, you can see, stuffed very badly indeed. And we're waiting for some emergency services to come in. A very dangerous moment indeed, and it's quite surprising that number 71 is still afloat. It would seem that they stuffed it very badly into a wave. What can happen is that they got caught out by a wave, and they Walter Ragazzi and Mickey DiGiorgio may have landed in a strange way on the water, the full impact of the water. And believe you me, water can, if you hit water hard, it's just like hitting a stone wall, and it's broken the boat completely. That is one completely wrecked boat. Ragazzi making some sort of sign to us, holding his arm, and I fear that Ragazzi may well be injured, so we've radioed for an RAF rescue helicopter to come out, and you can see almost right through the sponson there of number 71, the catamaran. Also you can see where Walter was, completely wrecked. It's the water actually tore right to the side of the boat, right where he was sitting, and so his left arm could well be badly injured. There are parts of the structure of the boat, the Kevlar carbon fibre, strewn all over the sea. A danger also to the boats following. There is Ross Wright and Pippa Neal May. They've slowed right down, obviously, otherwise they're going to hit the flotsam that's all around this crashed boat. So tragedy indeed for Walter Ragazzi and Mickey DiGiorgio, as well, of course, as their navigator, Achille Chetty. We go back now to watch the start of the Class 3 race. We hope this is going to be a bit more of an orderly start than it was in the Poole Bay race. And leading across the line are the Tolman twins, Mike and Gary, who lead the Class 3D race, and remember, an important round of the World Championship Series. And once again, it would seem that the boats are taking strange courses round the markers. A lot of those boats haven't gone through the correct markers, so unless they don't want to be disqualified, some of the boats must come back, and they are. There is Mike Fox in Petrobus, who's come back and has turned around the correct start buoy. Southern Raiders also gone through. Miss Saviour watches Ian Burney, fourth in the first race, coming back, as I'm sure will PGA Property Growth Assurance, because if they don't, they will get disqualified from this race. So a chaotic start to the Class 3D and 3C World Championship race here at the Poole Bay Classic. Through comes 25 PGA Property Growth Assurance, as do Katana, number 160. They also go round the correct buoy and restart the race, as does Just Add Water, who was so spectacular in that first race. Anybody who does not go round that buoy correctly, even if they do the whole course correctly, will be disqualified from the results. And if that's not enough, we have a change in leadership, because Peter Stuyvesant, Ted Tolman and Harold Smithy-Smith have gone into the lead, and there's a battle royal at the front of the field. Number 121, then Ted Tolman going through, but being chased hard by Renata Della Valle. Della Valle there, second at the moment, and these conditions really suiting Ted Tolman, who's putting the power down very well. Into the lead he goes. He knows he must win this race in order to get 400 valuable World Championship points, but closing in on him in second place, so Della Valle is fighting back. So it's Peter Stuyvesant versus Rothmans. 121 flying across the water. They've got that boat beautifully trimmed. They will only hope that the luck will hold out for them throughout this race. And they seem to be now pulling, just edging clear of the Rothmans boat. Our helicopter doing speeds in excess of 80 miles an hour, and these conditions ideally suiting the Peter Stuyvesant Bertram monohull. So the leader goes through. The sun starting to peer through. In second place and chasing very hard the Rothmans boat there, changing sides and doing everything he knows to get back on terms with Ted Tolman. And these two men, I think, the two favourites to win the 1982 World Championships. So first and second. Third, I think, will be Alberto Smania. Gold Rush in fourth. Walter Ragazzi, obviously, bad crash. And Mickey DiGiorgio, the catamaran, completely written off. The only thing they'll be able to salvage from that boat, I think, is going to be the drives, the engines, and various other bits and pieces. Certainly not the boat, but Gold Rush going very well indeed. This is a Don Shed designed aluminium boat, built in America, in fact. Unusually very quiet. As you can see, they're really trying very hard indeed. They've got twin turbocharged V12 Jaguar engines in the back. At the moment, they lie in 4th place, but the leader still, the end of lap 1, 1-2-1, Peter Stuyvesant, Ted Tolman, Harold Smitty-Smith. They go through into the lead, still maintaining that lead and pulling away a bit from 558, Renato Della Valle. In 3rd place, number 85, Alberto Smalnia and Alberto Diridoni. But not far behind them, in fact closing in on them, is Gold Rush. Colin Gervais Brazier and David Hagan there driving the boat. Obviously the 3rd man is the man who must navigate around this course. 5th place, Roman Sabre in Class 1. And a big battle for the Class 2 lead between Warlord, Alistair Kendon just getting in front of Alfo. That's Emilia Riganti, of course. These two having a tremendous battle, the 1st and 2nd place in the Class 2 part of the race. And look at this race for Class 3. We've got excitement everywhere. It's close racing throughout the differing classes. Leading at the moment in Class 3D, and a surprise leader is 606 at Spirit of Dorset, Carl Jones. He's just leading the man who finished in 5th place, Alpine, in the 1st round of the series. Lino Baldi and Renzo Zorzi. Zorzi, in fact, used to drive Formula 1 Grand Prix shadow cars some 4 or 5 years back. Behind them, Barry Drinkwater going very well. Enter Data with Howard Ritham also going well. But where is Property Growth Assurance? Because also going quite well, lying at around about 6th place, is Peter and Jan Armstrong. 7th place is Ian Burney. And Ian Burney fighting to come back up the field. We're looking out for PGA, Property Growth Assurance. There is Poco Holmes. Poco Holmes leading the Class 3C race at the moment. In 2nd place is Mike Fox, who won the 1st round of the series. In 3rd place, moving up very well with another Bootsy Cat, is the Italian pairing of Orville with their Bootsy Cat 274. That is Luigi Radis and Giorgio Villa, while the Tolman twins, who led across the line, have some form of problems and they can't get the engine to work properly as Atkins Racing goes past Southern Raider. Southern Raider in around 8th place. P18 is the leading cruiser class of Peter Hewitt's. As over on the skyline we can see an RAF rescue helicopter there, obviously going towards the craft that has taken Walter Rigazzi, Mickey De Giorgio off. There is the wreck boat. The safety rescue boats having taken the crew off, and you can see right through the sponson there. Completely wrecked boat, obviously. As we've said before, only useful for salvage. You can use the instrument panel. The engine's obviously still okay. In fact, they're very lucky that that boat has not sunk. They can use the drives, but a completely wrecked Class 1 boat there. And there, the men of the Royal Navy lowering down a stretcher to take Walter Rigazzi. And we've heard that Walter Rigazzi has got a very badly broken arm. So he's being taken off the rescue boat and off to hospital. High drama then in the 2nd round of the 1982 Peter Stuyvesant World Championship Series. As we watch one of the famous Westland helicopters of the Royal Navy, who operate in all sorts of weather conditions. And 350, that's a Class 3C boat. That's the Catalyst, and that's turned over completely. The crew are perfectly okay, in shock, but they turned over somewhere near the Isle of Wight, and that boat is being taken back to Poole Harbour as Emilia Riganti with Alpha at the moment, 463 with the Bootsy Cat powered by those twin diesel engines, 700 brake horsepower for them, go into the lead of Class 2. 2nd place, 031, Warlord, Alistair Kendon, not far behind. These two having a tremendous battle. As we hear of another accident out on the far side of the course by the Needles, and it's Peter Bloomfield and Nigel Holmes who are literally sitting on the bottom of their boat. That is their stately catamaran, and as you can see, the boat is turned over in the water. But there was even more drama here because Ian Burney, who finished 4th in the 1st round of the World Championship Series, hit them in the back as they were actually going over, and he's damaged the front of his boat, although he's still carrying on. So then number 21 upside down. Peter Bloomfield about to be rescued, and his co-driver Nigel Holmes has in fact broken his hand. So a lot of drama here in the second race of the series, and amazingly it's not quite as rough, but we still go back to the leader and still leading at the moment. On the far side, just past the Needles, and it's a little bit rougher out here, is the Bertram monohull of Ted Tolman and Harold Smith. This gives you a very good idea of the way these boats literally battle their way through what is now very rough sea indeed. They come past Hurst Castle, which of course goes into the Solent by the Isle of Wight. They're in the lead and they've pulled away quite a bit in the Class 1 through some rough water there and into the nice smooth waters of the Solent, and that's the sort of water that Ted Tolman and Harold Smith love, because the Bertram monohull will zip away, I think, from the man lying in second place, and that is the Rothmans boat of Renato della Valle. Della Valle going through there, 5.58. Second place, you can see the distance between first and second, round about 2 minutes. In third place, Alberto Smania. In fourth place, not far behind and closing little by little, number 62 Gold Rush with those turbocharged Jaguar engines, which potentially could in fact reach something like 1,000 brake horsepower per engine. Back into the lead of Class 2 goes Warlord, past the wrecked Hublot. Alistair Kendon just leading his arch rival, and there he is, 4.63, that's Alfo. As we go back to the battle now, raging for the lead in Class 3D. And it's all action here at the second round of the World Championship. 318 Alpine, that's Renzo Sorossi, leading Tam Tam on the far side, 465. Lino Bardelli in 318 there, and both those Bootsy cats really flying high. Third place, and a surprise at the moment, 06 Barry Drinkwater going very well with his 26-foot unsponsored Phantom. Barry, who is quite experienced in offshore powerboat racing, going very well here and really flying along with that 26-foot British-built Phantom. Behind them is Two Counties Radio 606 Carl Jones. This boat is co-driven by Gideon Hillman, number 606, lying fourth at the moment. Hardly suitable conditions for the catamarans of the... This is a Cougar-designed catamaran. Number 160, Katana, now seems to have pulled away from Alpine. Alpine second, Katana now in the lead. And they really are going very well. The Bootsy Cats seem to go very well in all sorts of conditions, whereas the Cougar catamarans go much quicker than the Bootsy Cats in the flat, calm conditions. Now moving up through the field, Enterdata, that is Howard Retham and John Hedges. They, in fact, coming up now into fourth place, taking 606 for that placing. 018 Enterdata. Just behind them now is John Hampton with his 23-foot Phantom, entered by Team Wadden Stringer there. And the attitude of the boat showing that they're very much nose down. I think this is Ian Burney's old boat. Ian Burney behind Wadham Stringer and catching all the Class 3D boats, it would seem, with the exception of the leading boats. And there he is, Ian Burney, who had an accident with Peter Bloomfield, although it didn't actually stop him. He had to slow right down, obviously, because if you look on the far side, you can see something flailing off the front of the boat, and that, in fact, is where they literally stoved into the rear of Peter Bloomfield's stately catamaran when it turned over by the Needles. But they are really going, throwing all caution to the wind. In fact, at the moment, that's Paul Sinclair driving, because on the right-hand side, Paul Sinclair, the co-driver, driving. Ian Burney, who normally drives this boat, they're sitting in the left-hand side seat. They'll probably change later on in the race. They probably did that when they were trying to repair the front end of the boat. They actually had to make very quick repairs, but they're going very quickly indeed. Their arch rival, PGA, Property Growth Assurance, Les Waring and Mike Jones, who won the first round of the championship, they're retired with engine problems. You can see one of the rear engines out of the water, or as near out of the water as they can get in these sort of conditions. As past comes the leader, Peter Stuyvesant, 121, but more sensational because there is smoke billowing from that boat. and they don't look to be going quite so quickly, and they're looking behind them because Rothmans, and that's Renata Della Valle, is not that far behind them. They're coming into the closing stages of this race, first and second, and Renata Della Valle can sense that he can win this race. In third place, closing on Della Valle, is Smania, so we really might have just about a photo finish. In fourth place, 62 Gold Rush is now a matter of some 15 seconds behind Smania. So all the top four boats closing up, and look at this, he's got the sight of the leader there, he's got sense for victory. Renata Della Valle there coming up towards and closing in on Peter Stuyvesant. The Peter Stuyvesant boat has got some form of big problems here. So during this Poole Bay Classic race, the second round of the World Championship, we've got sensation from the accident point of view of Ragazzi. We've got a change of leadership, I think, very late on in the race. We're coming towards the closing stages of the race, a mere, I would say, 10, 12 miles to run. It looks to us if we've got a leader change already. It would seem, yes, Della Valle has gone into the lead. Della Valle is in the lead as they come towards the finishing line, but it's going to be a very closely run thing. Stuyvesant boat still in second place, but smoke pouring from that boat. Let's have a look from our ground camera. 1-2-1, not going as quickly as they did before. We're about to see as they go past us. Yeah, you can see the smoke there coming up, hitting the face of Ted Tolman and Harold Smith. And as they come to cross the finishing line to win the second round of the World Championship Series in really amazing style, a very close finish in offshore powerboat racing, excitement all the way through the race, 5.58. Renata Della Valle wins the second race on the trot. In second place, finishing no more than about 45 seconds behind, 1-2-1. Ted Tolman and Harold Smith, they'll pick up 300 points. But unless they win their appeal against a disqualification for fifth place, they will not be the 1982 World Champions. They finish in second place, and you can see the smoke billowing from that boat. They're obviously a very delighted man. 2 wins in a row for Renata Della Valle in 5.58. He'll have a total of 800 World Championship points from the 2 races. And now Gold Rush, that was in fourth place, looks to be catching and may well have passed the third place man Alberto Smania on this final run to the line. So not only first and second very close, third and fourth seem to be very close racing indeed. This is the best performance by this British team in the 1982 World Championship, and indeed in the 1982 season. A lot of development has gone into this boat. Runs very quietly indeed with the turbo. Certainly they've gone into third place. They're in third place, but Alberto Smania, who is leading the 1982 European Class 1 Championship, is fighting back, and it's literally all out to the line. Throttles wide open. Both of the boats trimmed right out. And Smania just taking third place back again, going past Petropoulos, who's leading at the moment Class 3C, it would seem. But all eyes on for the finish, and Smania comes through into third place. No more than 10-15 seconds behind him, though, in fourth place. Gold Rush finishing fourth in the world standings, in the world Class 1 section of this race. Very good effort for this British team. And there is the smoke coming out of 1-2-1, and you can see what sort of problems they've got. They've obviously blown an engine in a big way, and Ted Tolman on the right-hand side, I think, getting a lot of smoke in his face, and I don't know if Smitty is being sick on the side of that boat or something, but no, he's just taking a look. I don't know actually what he's looking at. And Smitty there trying to get the smoke and probably us away from him, because our rotor blades throwing that smoke back into their face. But look at this battle for Class 3C. Well, we had a Class 1 race that was very close indeed, and in Class 3C we've got Mike Fox versus Steve Bourne for the Class 3 race. First and second, and Steve Bourne literally side by side, just about going into the lead. He goes into the lead. There in third place is Orville. But we wait for the very close racing that's happening in Class 3D. Still leading is 160 Katana, Lely Di Raimondo. In second place is 3-1 Alpine, Luigi Bardelli. And moving right through into third place is Miss Avia Watches, an incredible performance by Ian Burney. He's in third place with his Phantom. To finish in the Class 1 in fifth place is Roman Sabre, John Craxford and Chris Kay. Barry Drinkwater was third in the Class 3D race in the middle part of the race, has retired, although he'll probably still be classified as a finisher, has retired very close to the end of the race. The Formula boat driven by the two ladies competing in the Class 1 race going very slowly indeed. They've got a problem with one of the engines. But the leader, and it looks to be the winner in Class 3D, at least on the road, because there are quite a few protests to happen after the end of this race, is Katana Lele di Raimondo with the Bootsy Cat. In fact, he was disqualified from that first place because on the fifth lap he didn't go round the correct buoy. So he was disqualified from scoring any points in that race. And in second place on the road was Alpine. But amazingly, he didn't go back around the first buoy at the start. Do you remember that confusion at the start? Well, Alpine, driven by Luigi Bardelli, did not go round the start buoy. So consequently, he was disqualified from second place. So it was all change on Class 3D. The winner was Miss Avia Watches, Ian Burney. Enter Data finishes in second place, going very well indeed. At least he's not far behind Ian Burney. Through goes Turbo, Fabergé Turbo. At the moment, they are in seventh place. But these men, Katana, didn't realise, obviously, that they had gone the wrong way around one of the buoys, and this will put their World Championship hopes in serious jeopardy, because had they won this race, they would have been clear of property growth in the top of the World Championship table with just one race to go. In fact, had they won this race, Katana would in total have had 700 points. That would have been 300 points clear of PGA, Property Growth, who actually haven't finished this race because, of course, they're retired. But up to take the checkered flag at least is the Bootsy Cat 160 Katana. A very good effort, nevertheless, because not ideal conditions for the catamaran. So a disqualification for the Italian catamarans in first and second place. That will leave Katana with only 300 points in the World Championship standing. 318, Renzo Zorzi and Luigi Bardelli finishing also on the road, so to speak, in second place, but also disqualified for not going around the first buoy at the start. And so the winner of the Class 3D race, and amazingly the winner because he had that accident in the middle of the race, this man, Miss Avia Watches, Ian Burney, now driving with Paul Sinclair. Ian Burney then will have 569 points and will lead the Class 3 World Championship Series after this race. Their nearest challenger is Property Growth Assurance, who will be second with 400 points after the finish of the race. So Ian Burney, victory here at round 2 of the 1982 Class 3D World Championship. Finishing third on the road, literally, but first in class after 2 Italian boats were disqualified. So a really surprising race here, what with the accidents, the excitement of the Class 1, and now this excitement in Class 3, not to mention everybody else who's turned over, like Peter Bloomfield. In fourth place was Howard Rettam and John Hedges, but once again they finished in second place, in fact, because their fourth place moved them up to second place when the 2 Italian boats were disqualified, and they now are third in the World Championship, Class 3D, with 371 points after the finish of round 2. They, in fact, the Phantoms now lying first, second and third in the World Championship prior to the last race at the Cowes International. In third place is Spirit of Dorset, Carl Jones. That's third place overall after the disqualification of the 2 Italian boats. And he certainly is leaping very high. Very good performance by Spirit of Dorset. They lie fifth in the World Championship with 225 points, while moving up to sixth place in the Class 3D World Championship and finishing fourth in the World Championship Class 3D after those disqualifications. 44, Fabergé Turbo, the husband and wife team of Peter and Jan Armstrong. They will have 222 points and lie in sixth place after this race. So in all, 4 Phantom monohulls in the top 6 places prior to the final round of the 1982 World Offshore Powerboat Championship Class 3D at Cowes in just 5 days' time. Finishing 5th in Class 3D, 7th on the road, so to speak, is Southern Raider, another husband and wife team of Len and Jane Hall. Another catamaran not ideally suited to the conditions, which generally deteriorated as the race progressed. Coming across the line now. One of the final finishes in 3D, but we still have the Class 3C World Championship contenders who are fighting it out all around the south coast of England, it would seem. And here they are, taking the lead, Poker Holmes, but what a battle for first and second place. Steve Bourne versus Mike Fox and Phil Fox in the other boat. These two little 21-foot Class 3C, 175 brake horsepower craft, bouncing all over the waves, and they are giving it their all, absolutely giving it the gun towards the line. It could be anybody's race between these two. Once again, close, competitive and exciting racing here for round 2 of the World Championship Series, and the racing has really been quite intense in every single one of the classes. Orville lies in 3rd place, while in 4th place is Panel Group. This is another little 21-foot Phantom driven by Malcolm Panel and co-driven by Duncan Panel. At the moment lying 4th in Class 3C. But that position is soon to change because Poker Holmes retires just 2 miles from the finish, and 001 goes across the line. The winner, Phil Fox and Mike Fox, take victory, but that is to be denied to them in post-race scrutineering because they are disqualified for having an oversized gearbox. So the winner of Class 3C will be Orville Luigi Radis and, of course, his co-driver, Giorgio Villa. Orville then goes into the lead of the Class 3C World Championship with just 1 round to go. The winner again on the road, 463 Alpha, but he is then disqualified for going the wrong way round a Marco Boy in the latter stages of the race. A great pity because they just beat Warlord, but Alistair Kendon is given the win in the Class 2 category, the second win in 48 hours for Warlord 031, who finished right behind Alpha. And so we end the second round of the 1982 World Championship Series. The Peter Stuyvesant World Cup still wide open. And really, what an exciting race we've had here at the Poole Bay Classic. Quite incredible. We've had accidents galore, we've had changes of leadership, we've had disqualifications, we've had appeals, we've had just about everything that makes offshore powerboat racing very exciting. And we're not going to know who's going to win the World Championship because at the moment, leading Class 1 is Renato Della Valle with 800 points. In second place will be Alberto Smani with 525 points. Third place, subject from getting back that 5th place with 427 points, will be Peter Stuyvesant, Ted Tolman and Harold Smitty Smith. So those 3 still have a chance of winning the World Championship in offshore powerboat racing. Leaders in Class 3D with just 1 more race to go is Ian Burney and Paul Sinclair with Miss Avia Watches with 569 points. Second place is Les Walling and Mike Jones with 400 points. They of course retired from this race. And in third place will be Enterdata, Howard Retton and John Henges with 371 points. Class 3C is led by Orville, Luigi Redaz and Giorgio Villa with 569 points. From in second place, another Phantom 21-foot Petropis of Phil Fox and Mike Fox. Gold Rush, of course, finished 4th in the World Championship class here at Poole. And we went and spoke to the team about their interesting project with the turbocharged Jaguar engines.
One of the most interesting entries in the 1982 Peter Stuyvesant Offshore Powerboat World Championships is Gold Rush. It's interesting because it's powered by twin turbocharged Jaguar V12 engines, turbocharged, and this is interesting because most of the other competitors run normally aspirated engines. They're the Mariner Mercruisers, which are basically V8 engines based upon the Chevrolet engine.
What we're looking at here is the installation consisting of 2 turbocharged V12 Jaguar engines. Now, these engines are the product of 2 years' development by Jaguar Cars themselves and by Bill Bonner of Aero Bonner. Perhaps the key point about them is the turbocharging, and if you look at this engine, each bank of 6 cylinders has its own individual turbocharger placed here, and the same feature on the other engine. As regards power output, the world standard powerboats until recently have been mainly powered by Mercruiser engines producing perhaps 625, 650 horsepower in a normally aspirated state. These engines, as we had them for today's race, we consider are probably producing 800 horsepower. They're very new. We're still in the stages of running them up, and we have every hope that we can crank them up to perhaps in a speed record situation, perhaps even 950 or even 1,000 brake horsepower for a short period of time. So we're very, very optimistic that a British hull powered by essentially all British engines and put together by a British group of people can in fact produce some fairly dramatic changes on the international scene in powerboat racing, perhaps during the remainder of this season, but more importantly in our fully developed stages next season.
And so a very interesting project indeed, very much akin to Formula 1 Grand Prix racing back in 1978 when the Renaults came out with their idea of turbocharging a Formula 1 Grand Prix 1.5 litre engine. That was taboo at the time. This may well be a very difficult road for the Gold Rush team to take. They could produce in the region, they said, something like 1,000 brake horsepower, enormous amount of power coming out of those turbocharged, twin turbocharging units. Should be very interesting for the future, and this of course is one of the normally aspirated Mercury engines which have been so successful to date in offshore powerboat racing. Al Copeland's Popeye boat will be back, of course, for the final round of the World Championship Series at the Cowes International. But unfortunately, Walter Rigazzi, who at the moment is in hospital, having a very badly injured arm pinned, and of course Mickey DiGiorgio have lost their fabulous catamaran, Hublot, in that enormous accident which we saw during the course of this race. But it's now on to the final round at Cowes.